Hello, everybody, and welcome to Quality Sewing and Vacuum's Facebook Live today. We are here for Sew Fun. We are so excited to have our two beautiful consultants for the month of April. We have Linda and Anne. They have prepared some really amazing quilts for you today. If you are new to our broadcast, then we would love to have you come for a live show. If you're in the Seattle area, we have 10 stores all over the Seattle area. Hop onto our website at qualitysewing.com to find all of the 29 classes that you can go to live. Our live shows, our live classes have food, fun, and friends. Right, ladies? They are so fun. And we have show and tell too. I think that's one of my favorite parts. But today you guys get to see their show and tell that they've done. We're going to have 2 prize drawings at the end of our show today. So please leave a comment down below. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Or if you have any questions, go ahead and pop on there and we'll answer those right away. All of the products that they are going to be showing today will be 20% off until May 2nd. So hop on there and grab your things. After the 2nd, they won't be available through us anymore. So with that, I'm going to turn the time over to our beautiful Anne.
Okay, well, we are excited to be here, Linda and I. We've had fun doing our projects, and we welcome you from all over. We're so excited that you're going to join us. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with a pattern, and this is called the BQ pattern number 7, and this is by Debbie Bowles, and many of you are probably familiar with her patterns, and I've made many of the different ones, but we have the BQ7 here. What it is, the BQ stands for Big Quilt Block, and you can make the blocks either in an 18-inch block or you can make a 12-inch block. I always choose the 18-inch because it goes really fast and you can put it together very easily. So I'm going to go ahead and step over here to the quilt. And I'm going to just kind of explain some of the things that we have. Now, this quilt pattern is made with 4 different fabrics. And if you can see, we have a lovely focus fabric here that is from our Tukwila store, and it only takes 1.5 yards to put this together, so it goes together relatively with not a whole lot of fabric. You also have a couple of accent fabrics and then this teeny little accent fabric right here. Now it is an 18-inch block, and if you notice, I'm going to try here to show you where the block is. It is right here. This is how big the block is right here. And so it is framed by a rectangle. And if you have your quilt cut out, then you will probably be able to stitch it together in 2 to 3 hours. There are 3 blocks across and 4 blocks down. That kind of brings us into the book that we chose today. Linda, do you want to hand me the book? This is called Perfectly Pieced Quilt Backs, and this is something that we've never had in Sew Fun. In all the years that I've done Sew Fun, we've never highlighted a book on making your backs as fun as your fronts. This has 15 different quilt back ideas, and you can see that beautiful pictures, and they're very simple to do. How many of you out there buy a little extra fabric when you're making a quilt and you don't know what to do with it? You buy extra because you think, well, maybe I make a mistake and I need a little bit of fabric. So you can use those bits of fabric or fabric from your stash to do the backs. Plus, if you notice right here, you get 18 different quilt patterns that you can download free from her website. She gives you the information in the book, so you not only get your 15 quilt back ideas, but you also get 18 free quilt patterns, and she coordinates them with each of the backs. So I'm going to show you some of the backs that I've done, and the first one is on the BQ quilt. I did a back, and it's called Tallies. Thank you, Linda. And what it is it's just stripes of fabric that are left over that you can create your back from. And there are actually 5 stripes. You can see in the picture right there kind of how you put it together. And it's a great way if you want to kind of highlight your quilting. You can see the beautiful quilting here that is highlighted. Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you over here a couple of ideas. This is called Intersection, and what it is it is just a lap size quilt, and then you cut big blocks of, you can stripe your blocks as I've done here, leftover fabric, and then you have some focus blocks here, and you actually have a reversible quilt. The back can be a quilt, and then the front is actually one of the 3-yard quilts that goes together really quickly. How many of you have quilt tops that you're waiting to quilt? Anybody out there have those? I'm sure you do. This is a great way to use your scraps up, use your stash up, and get those quilt tops made into quilts. Now, you don't always just have to use them on quilts. You can use them on table runners, you can use them on placemats, things like that. This idea right here, I'm going to take it down so that I can show you. This is a table runner that I put together last summer, and it needed to have a backing on it. And so what I did was I decided I had a very little bit of fabric left over, and I needed to lengthen out the backing, and so I did one that is called there we go, not used to the cameras. This is called coin strip, and you just piece together what you have, and it works out great. And it's a very simple, easy way to do things. So now I'm going to turn the time over to Linda, and she's going to show you what she has done.
Thanks, Anne. I'm Linda James, and I did a bed runner with the BQ7 blocks. There's 6 blocks altogether, and it fits a queen size bed. I use the K-Facet as my focus fabric. And then I want to mention I quilt my quilts with my Sashiko Baby Lock Sashiko machine. It looks like a running stitch. I don't know if they can get close enough on this, but I use white thread on black fabric so that it is very obvious. It looks like hand quilting. And we carry the Baby Lock Sashiko machines in the store, and we have people here that would love to give you a demonstration so that you can use this kind of quilting technique also. And then I did this particular quilt. It's real cute. It's got little fairy fabric on it. I made it for my great-granddaughter. I quilted it with my Sashiko machine in coordinating threads. But the focus fabric pattern is the one that we used from the book. And I didn't have as much of this print to use for a focus fabric. So instead, I used the turquoise in the center and put my focus fabric on the outside. So you don't have to use exact designs that they use. This is just a suggestion for how to back your quilts. This particular one is a table topper that I had some blocks that are really quite busy, as you can see. I quilted that with the Sashiko machine. And because it is busy, I wanted to have a back that was rather plain. So I chose tunnel vision with just 2 fabrics. Tried to center my design from the front onto the back. I extended the fabric that I used on this back part about 1.5 inches so that I could wrap it around and create self fabric binding and mitered those corners. And it made a very nice finish for that table topper. The next item we want to show you is the Welcome Friends embroidery. This is a pattern that we brought in. It's by Janine Babbage. It's done in the hoop. Put that down. The center part you do first with your Welcome Friends stitching. After you've done that, you take that out of the hoop. You continue to make the front portion, and separately you make the back portion, because she shows you how to do a special hanger that you can use for dowels, garden, sign stakes, or these very pretty wall hangings. Then you do the leaves, in this case 3 different sizes of leaves, or flowers, as I'll show you on the other ones. You do those separately with a wash away stabilizer so that they actually look like they're floating on the fabric. There's 3 different designs of leaves and different sizes to vary those. This is the fall pattern. Janine's pattern is seasons. It's fall, spring, summer, and winter. Then I did Christmas with the very pretty poinsettias, and you can see that they are loose, just lightly tacked onto your wall hanging. These wall hangings are great in the house, or you can put them on a garden stake and hang them outside in good weather, of course. So it's very versatile. Do you want to do yours?
Yes. This is the one that I did, and I had a lot of fun doing it. Actually, when you buy the pattern, where's the pattern? You buy the pattern, there's nothing inside. You usually have a CD or you have a little jump drive, but what the designers now are doing is they are putting a code in the package, and then you go to their website and you put the code in and you create a profile. And then the beauty of this is that if you forget or you lose something, you have a history with them and you can go back and you can check. So a lot of the ladies, when we were traveling, said, well, there's nothing inside. And I said, well, this is what the designers are doing now, is they are going more to a code. And so that's something really important to know. She gives wonderful instructions, as Linda said. This one is the summer wall hanging, and it does have the 3D roses, they call them, in the pattern here. And something that I really wanted to show you is a product that we brought in. And these are the Wonderfill bobbins, and they are multicolored. So whenever you're doing, I actually used them in 4 of my projects. I used them to make some lace that you're going to see a little bit later. I used them to quilt my table runners, and I used them in a couple of other projects. A lot of times you need a matching bobbin and you don't want to use a regular 50 weight thread. These are 80 weight, very strong, and the beauty of a pre-wound bobbin is that you get a much better tension when you have a pre-wound bobbin. So we have these. There's lots of different colors, so you'll never have to look for the color again. We also brought in something to help you with your bobbins. This is the little bobbin tower, and it holds 30 different bobbins. And if you notice here, you can kind of pull these apart. They move, so you can put all different sizes of bobbins in here. It does hold 30 bobbins. Now, how many of you out there sew with a couple of different machines and you just don't know, does this bobbin go to my FOF or does this bobbin go to my brother? Well, guess what? These all come apart. And if you're going to a retreat or whatever, you can put your bobbins on this and just take this with you. Or if you do so with two different machines, I have the yellow for my FOF and I have the green for my brother, and I don't have to look and see what bobbin goes to what machine. So it helps you keep organized with your bobbins. When you open the pattern up, you're going to find the designs, and the designs for these are three-dimensional, and you do see the backs of the designs, these little flowers that you put on. So you want a bobbin thread that matches to do that. Also, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, I wanted to tell you about how you do the flowers. You're going to use two layers of wash away stabilizer to do your flowers on, and then you wash them out. And I just left a little bit of that in, and I kind of crunched the flowers up, set them on my ironing board, let them dry overnight, and so that's why you can make them really dimensional if that's what you choose to do. And if you notice on my Welcome Friends sunflower, you do have a pointed bottom here at the bottom of your wall hanging. You don't have to do that. You can square it off, or you can make, you can make, this is my first time taping. So anyway, you can make it square across, or you can angle it down like that. Janine Babbitt's designs are very, very well digitized, and it was just a lot of fun to put together, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to talk now about a new pattern, something that we haven't really done much of. This is called the bum bag pattern, and it's actually a fanny pack pattern. And we haven't done these for a long time in Sew Fun. On the pattern, you'll see that they've made them out of cork, vinyl, and fabric. And so you can choose, you can be the designer, and it's a great pattern if you just want to wear it around your waist, but a lot of the younger people like to wear them as a crossbody bag, and you're going to see samples of both of these that Linda and I have made. So Linda, do you want to go ahead and talk about the hardware?
Yes, we brought in the prepackaged hardware for the bum bag, and it's there. I think you can see it a little better. It has a very, very good quality buckle and two ovals to go on your straps, and the slide that is two ovals hooked together, so you can make the slide larger or smaller, and we'll tell you a little bit about that. We also brought in the Sally Tomato rotary punch. I'm sorry about the glare. On the punch, it gives you the sizes of punch that they do, 2-inch to 4.5-inch. And this is what that looks like. And it's very easy to use. It has a flat side, and then it has the different sizes of holes. So you put your vinyl or leather. I used it on a leather belt to give it a couple extra punches, and it went through very well. You squeeze that down, you hear a little snap, and it makes a perfect punch for your, I think you can see it if I put it here against my shirt. We punched the heck out of this. Everybody wanted to see how it worked, so that's what we did. So that's for the strap. There's your buckle. I think you can see that. It's a very, like I say, very good quality. And it snaps together. This is the slide where you can adjust the size of that strap. And then there are the two ovals that attach that bum bag. I did this one in a black faux hand-tooled leather, but it's vinyl. But you can't hardly tell. It has a front zipper, and I tried to put a bright print inside there. There's room here for their slip sleeves to put a driver's license and credit card. And I always suggest that you get your credit cards and your driver's license and measure it against the pattern, because sometimes those cards are a little bit bigger. You want to make sure that that is going to fit before you sew it in. Zipper on the back, as you can see. And then I made one with this cute little floral print. When I bought it, in the picture on the computer, it was about that size, and I thought there'd be big flowers, and when I got it, it was this petite floral, so it'd be very cute for a little girl. This is the longer strap, so it can be worn crossbody, which is the fashion for the kids nowadays. And Anne will show you her bags.
The first one I made out of fabric, and this is cute little bicycle fabric that I got up at our Bellingham store. One of the things that I learned as I was traveling, I always learned something from the ladies. And if you notice my zipper here, when I open it up, it's kind of rippled. It's kind of hard to see it. And I didn't know what to do. I thought, well, it looks good when it's zipped up, so we won't worry about it. But one of the ladies said that she took a class, I think from Pam Demore, who's been at our store lately. And she said just to iron the tape of the zipper, and it will get rid of all that little rippling there, because most of us store our zippers in the round. They're in a circular motion you don't want them just laying all over your drawer, so you kind of roll them up. And so that's a really good tip there. I did quilt this. I used my deco bobs in the bobbin, and then I did just some straight line quilting here. And I do have Annie's Soft and Stable inside. This makes it whenever you use something heavier to make a bag, it will make it just a little bit smaller. And so this one looks like it's a little bit smaller, but it is actually because I used a very heavy stabilizer to quilt on. And as Linda said, the inside, you can see the cork pockets there for your driver's license. You use cork because it doesn't fray. and then it's just got a fun lining, and then a nice little pocket back here, and then a strap that I made out of just a vinyl fabric. And I'm going to show you a notion that makes this really easy to do. And I've made it as a crossbody bag for my youngest daughter. She claimed this. Now, if you're using Annie's Soft and Stable or the Bozal foam products, I learned this many years ago because I've made a lot of bags. You have your seam here and it is really thick. And if you could touch this, you could see how thick it is. If you want to compact that seam down, all you do is you run straight stitches down your seam allowance. And you probably can't see this, but I can see it looking, it just makes everything nice and flat. And so somebody said, well, why don't you just use a zigzag stitch? And I said, you don't get the thread coverage. The more thread coverage you get, the better it will lay down and you can compact your seam down. And so that's just a little trick there. This is the handle that I wanted to show you how to make. And it is just 2 layers of vinyl, but with this new tape that we have, it's new to me. I think it's been on the market about a year, but I didn't know anything about it, and it is my favorite new notion. And what it is it is the Annie's double-sided basting tape. And you can see that it's very, very narrow. And it's very sticky. It's really, really sticky, and it works great. A lot of times your 1/4 inch basting tape is just a little bit too wide for what you're doing. And guess what? You get 2 rolls in the package. So you get 2 of these in the package. So when I did my little strap here, I put this on. Well, first of all, this is 2 inches wide because that's what fits on the bum bag hardware. And then I drew a center line down on the 1 inch mark so I would know how far to fold it up. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the paper off of that and you're going to bend this over. Let me see if I can do that and get it kind of even. And look how it sticks. And then I just put a few little clips and stitched it on the machine from the wrong side, and it turns out great. So that was just something that was fun to do. Now this one, if you notice, this one is a little bit bigger, and I decided that I wanted to make one just a bit bigger to see what it turned out like. So what I did was I took my pattern pieces and put it on my copy machine and just bumped it up 15%. So it made it a lot more roomy just by bumping it up 15%. It's put together exactly the same way. It has an adjustable strap so it can be a crossbody bag. This actually is the Sally Tomato pebble vinyl, and I just put kind of a fun lining in here. But guess what? It has been backed with fusible fleece, and so I didn't really know if you could use fusible fleece on your vinyl products, but you can use interfacing, fusible interfacing, and fusible fleece. You just have to make sure you protect it with your your pressing sheet, and so that's what gives it the body. Any questions about that? We're going to go ahead and move on. And Linda's going to talk about another pattern that we have.
That's right, but I somehow have misplaced. There it is. We have 2 other products.
That's right.
I forgot to tell them about.
Well, now's a good time.
Okay, the first one that we brought in are these tweezers. They're a very affordable pair of tweezers. And as you can see, they have a kind of a bright yellow silicone pad there that you hold them by. These come in 5 different colors. There was bright lime green, there was a bright blue, bright orange, a rose color, and of course this yellow. When we got them, they have a little silicone, almost like a rubber band, around the tip. So when you're storing them, you can keep those closed tightly. They have a very sharp, angled point, and they are very precision-made tweezers. So you can grasp things and hold them in a good contact. Those are the tweezers. The other one that I wanted to tell you about are these scissors that we're wearing around our neck. You probably noticed them. These are by Tooltron. They're bright orange. You're not going to lose these in your sewing room. They come with, and this is one of the best parts, they come with a cap that is attached by a piece of elastic. You aren't going to lose that. Lately, they've been putting silicone covers on the tips, which are great, but they're kind of clear and hard to find if you drop them. These you will not lose because they are attached. You also will not lose your scissors if you put them on a lanyard, as we've done. They have a little ring right here on the scissors. So I don't know if you can see those, but it makes it so you can clip that lanyard on. They're very sharp scissors. They have a very sharp point, and they are serrated on both sides. So they cut very cleanly. A lot of times you clip your threads with those inexpensive clippers, and it doesn't cut the thread. This cuts it the first time, a very clean cut. So that's the Tooltron scissors and the tweezers. So then I want to tell you about our geese across the table. It's a table runner and 6 placemats. This is made by Canuck Quilter Designs. And on the back, it tells you the exact amount you need for your table runner and the 6 placemats. If you use fat quarters, 6 fat quarters does the job. I think this is it's glaring too much, so I'm going to take this out. I think that might be a little bit better. Anyway, 6 fat quarters or your own fabric, and then 1 yard of accent fabric, half a yard of white background fabric. But you can use anything that you have that suits you. And we used the Creative Grids ruler to make this table runner. Were you going to tell them about this, or do you want me to go ahead?
Do you want to show? Why don't we talk about this and then we can do our demos?
That sounds good.
Okay. Go ahead.
We'll flip a coin.
Yeah.
I did my table runner with grunge fabric and Northcott prints in the teal and green. I backed it with fabric I had at home. I didn't have quite enough, so I kind of went with our perfectly pieced back book ideas and spliced in some turquoise. And I quilted it on my Sashiko machine. And I just put up 3 of the placemats that I also quilted with the machine that way.
Okay. I actually did all 6 of the placemats. I bought a 6 fat quarter pack quite a few years ago, and I thought it would be perfect for this, and it worked out great. I can't say enough about the ruler and making flying geese, because as precise as I try to be, it never turns out like I would like. I don't use the word perfect very often, but when you use the ruler, and we're going to do a couple of demos with it in just a minute, it makes your flying geese turn out perfect. Look how beautiful all of these flying geese are. And we had a tool that has made it so you can use the word perfect. So what else can I tell you about? The table runner, I just had this border came out of my stash, but I did do a backing. Let me turn it this way. I did do a backing out of the book, and it is called Every Little Bit, and you can see that it is done in just a stripe down here. Well, I decided that's what I did, but I had to cut it apart because this was so narrow. So here's part of my stripe here. Here's part of my stripe up here. And that just, I used every little bit of that 6 fat quarter pack to do all of this. Okay, let's go ahead with our demo. And you can be first, and then I will follow up.
Okay. As I said before, we brought in the Creative Grids Flying Geese tool. And Creative Grids puts a non-skid surface on the back of all of their rulers and tools that makes it easy to keep from your tools sliding around on your fabric. Inside of each of these tools, they have instructions, and I like to mention to people, don't throw this away. They've spent a lot of time and money designing these with instructions in them to do whatever project you're using them for. The one we're using today is the heart method. There's also a flip back fold method and traditional crosscut squares. So there's 3 different methods of doing flying geese. I really like this heart method because the way you put it together, you don't have to worry about those bias cuts. And with the bias cuts, the old-fashioned way that I did it, a lot of times when I made my cut, if I didn't starch my fabric well enough, I ended up with geese that were kind of going like this. With this, you don't. You sew it before you cut it, and then you don't have that pull on the bias cut. So down here on the table, I went through that heart method. They tell you to cut a 5 3/4 inch square if you're doing a 2 by 4 inch block, which is what we use for the flying geese runners. So I cut my 5 3/4 inch, and then they tell you to cut 3 1/4 inch squares, and on those instructions they say to cut 4 of the small squares to each 1 of the large. So I've done that ahead of time for expediency's sake. I also drew a line with my friction pen from one corner to the other. That's my center line. From there, you know how to stitch your 1/4 inch seam on either side. Once you've done that, you end up with 2 pieces like that. Then they tell you to take that piece to the iron and press those up. Thus, the heart method. You can kind of see your stylized heart there. Then you take that piece, put another one of your 3 1/4 inch blocks on top of that, mark your line down the center, then you stitch your 1/4 inch on either side. So then you can see you have you have it piece like that, and you'll have another piece like this. I know the cameraman's probably just going nuts because I keep moving, but this is my first time with a camera, so we're learning. So then you slice down the middle of that, and you end up with those two pieces, to which you press, and you end up with your flying geese block. But the magic starts now with their ruler, because you use a tool that has, and Anne was going to tell you more about this, but I'm just going to quickly show you how I trimmed it. The tool says trim 1, trim 2. So I'm going to place the first one that I trim. We're going to go down here. I'll put it on the paper so you can see it. So the first one, I'm going to pick my 2 1/4 inch size and place those lines right on that dark fabric. And I think you can kind of see there's extra fabric here, and this is what you're going to trim. This is your trim 1. And I've got friction pen markings on here so you can see that's where it was cut. Then you turn it around and use the trim 2 side and place that 2 by 4 inches marking on, in this case it's the friction lines that I've drawn, but that would be where it was cut perfectly. So if it's cut perfectly there, then you trim 2 here, and you end up with, this would be, if it was cut, it would be a perfect 2 by 4 flying geese. And you get 4 each time you do that whole set. So it makes it go by very quickly. And Anne's going to take over and explain that a little more clearly.
Okay. If you notice, there's actually 2 different ways that you can make flying geese. You can make flying geese where you cut the pieces precisely, and you can make flying geese where you use the measurements off of this ruler right here, and it gives you, as Linda said, it gives you a little bit of trim that you can trim down, and you can get your blocks to be exactly perfect. And so if I am doing something, I want to have the tool that will give me the best result, and this certainly gives you that. And so I'm going to kind of step back a little bit, and I'm going to talk about the diagonal seam tape. And I know a lot of you know what it is. It's been around for a while, but there's a lot of people that don't know how to use this. Whenever you are sewing a diagonal line, like if you're sewing your flying geese, or if you're doing a half square triangle, anything like that, you can use this tape. This tape is repositionable. A roll will last you a lifetime. And I put it on all of my machines. I've made my daughters put it on all their machines because it works so well. And so I'm going to turn around here, and I'm going to show you exactly how to position this. And what you're going to do is you're going to look for the center marking here. Now, your bobbin's going to pop up like this, but what I do is I put a small piece on this little lid here because I like to line it up there. If I were to go like this, I wouldn't, with one continuous piece, I wouldn't be able to pop it up. But I'm not going to put it on my lid, but I'm going to show you, you've got a center line here, and what you're going to do is you're going to line that line up exactly with the center line, and then you're going to pull it down straight. And another tip that I learned from one of the gals as I was traveling, she said to cut it longer. I've just cut at the end of my arm here, or if you have the Sew Steady table, you can do bigger triangles with that. But I'm going to just cut it right here, and then I'm going to just bend it down there, and then it just stays perfectly on your machine, and it doesn't come off. You can take it off. It's not sticky or gummy or anything like that. It's wonderful. And so there's 3 different things that I'm going to show you how to do today using the diagonal seam tape. The first one is to miter your binding strips. And so what we have is I've got one strip here, and then you're going to put your other strip like this, and you're going to overlap them. And then you're going to look for this intersection here, and you're going to line it up with your needle, and you're also going to look for this intersection, and that is going to stay on this center red mark. That is your center mark. And so I'm going to go ahead and try and get this nice and even. I'm going to try to not get my hand in the way so that you can see how nicely and evenly it sews. And see, if you had it on that little cover there, you'd be able to do it exactly perfect. And then see how nice it miters there. The next one is if you're going to do half square triangles. How many of you have done half square triangles? And as Linda said, you don't have to worry about the bias edges. So what you're going to do, once again, you're going to line that up on the tip, and you're going to keep this tip on the center marking, and you're going to go ahead and just stitch down, and then all you have to do is cut your 1/4 inch seam here, and then you can fold it back, and you have a beautiful equal half square triangle. So that's another way that you can use it. And then I decided I wanted to make sure that I could do this with this technique here using the heart method. So what I've done is this fabric has a line drawn on it, and it doesn't need to have a line because you're not going to use that. What you're going to do is you're going to line up this right here with your needle, and you're going to put, okay, I'm angly challenged like Jenny Doan, so I have to look before I do anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm starting on the left hand side, so I'm going to put my point on the right hand line. Okay, so we're going to sew here. Try to keep that on the line. If I were sitting in front of it, it would be fine, but I'm not. And then I'm going to go to this little intersection here, and I'm going to put it on my needle, right? Put my needle right on the point, and then this point is on the right hand side. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this on the right hand side. A little wobbly there, but you get the idea. Just set in front of your machine, and then all you have to do is cut this in the center. So for the purpose of television, I have one already cut, and you can see, if you want to come down on this, you can see that this is kind of wonky, and some of the ones that I made were really wonky, but because of this ruler, you can cut it exact. And so if you notice right here, Linda talked about the trim one. If you use these measurements here, you'll be able to trim. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on my 2 by 4 inch. Now these are, I call these triangles. These triangles go right exactly on top of your flying geese. And then what okay, I knew it was off. I have new glasses and I'm just getting used to them. And I need to cut on here. Thank you. I don't want to ruin this cabinet. Okay, we're going to put the 2 by 4 here. Oh, these glasses are great. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this edge and I'm going to cut this edge right here. And hopefully there. Now I'm going to flip it because this edge is my precise edge, and I'm going to flip this, and I'm going to look for my 2 by 4. I'm going to line this line up here and this line here. You can see I'm going to trim some off of the right hand side and the top. So I'm going to line those up exact, and then I'm going to cut, and I'm going to cut here, and then you can see that I have a perfectly trimmed block, and these are exactly perfect where they need to be for your 1/4 inch seam. So this really is a tool that is just makes it so much easier to do your flying geese. Okay.
Okay. So now I'm going to introduce you to the Cosmetic clutch pattern that we brought in. This is a by Annie pattern. The pattern has 3 different sizes, small, medium, and large. Again, we've got that glare. And I did mine in navy blue with the with an Asian inspired trim fabric. You quilt the body of your pattern first, and then you put these trim pieces on. The pattern has you inserting 2 magnet snaps. You can almost hear the snap. And we used the Heat and Bond iron-on vinyl. It's a matte finish vinyl. There's 2 yards of 2 yards by 17 inches in the package. So it goes quite a ways. It did all 3. Actually, it did 6 of mine. And I think that's all I wanted to say about that.
Okay.
I'll let you take over.
We'll switch places here. I'm going to bring mine down here because I want to show you what not to do. I know that the ladies, as I've been traveling around, they love to see what not to do. And as Linda said, there are 3 different sizes. And I decided to start out on the large size, and I have used Annie's Soft and Stable in mine. And I was at a sewing retreat doing it, and I was just zipping along. And don't you always just put right sides together? Yes, but no, sometimes you don't. And so what happened was when you add the side piece here, you are supposed to put wrong side to wrong side so that it looks like this. Can you see the difference here? You know, it's not ruined if you put right side to right side because there's always a solution. And the solution for this larger bag was just to take a tuck right here so that the sides went in. And it's very serviceable. You can open it up. You can see that it has the vinyl. once you get your sandwich put together, when you do your quilting, you're going to quilt after you fuse the vinyl to the fabric. And so that's why you can see these little lines here. And I thought, well, I could rip out all of this binding, and I have to say I did a pretty good job for doing it on the machine. I thought, forget it. I am not ripping it out. I will find a way to do it. Now, if you notice, we have a beautiful lace flower here. And I did use my Deco Bobs so that I would have the same color on the top. I used a 12-weight cotton embroidery thread for the top, and I used the Deco Bobs in the bobbin, and they matched perfect, and they turned out just great. I actually started out with fat quarters. These work really well with fat quarters. And then I channel stitched with a foot that is an old Foff foot. It's a decorative stitch foot that has plastic extensions on each side of the needle, so it made it very easy to measure each of these channel stitchings here. This actually is how the side is supposed to look. It opens a lot wider if you do it correctly. And so I would suggest that you read the instructions. I had read them, but you know, when you're talking with your friends, sometimes you just forget about everything that has to be done. And this is the small one here. I didn't put any vinyl in the interior because I thought, you know, you can use these for a lot different than just cosmetic bags. You could make them out of little boy fabrics, and they could put their Legos and things like that in them. You can use them for storage. I've made a lot of bags for a friend of mine who is very crafty, and she stores all of her craft things in the bags. Okay, Linda's going to tell you about another product that we used when we were making our bags here.
I'm going to step over here a little closer. How many of you have used iron cleaner on your irons? I had not. I had a Teflon coated iron, and I thought it takes care of itself. I was so wrong. This the iron cleaner that we have comes in a tube. It's a cream, and they instruct you to turn your iron on high heat. Get a piece of 100% cotton fabric, because you know synthetic will melt. So I used flannel. I cut a large piece of flannel, and then I thought, well, it's high heat. I better have some padding there for my fingers. They tell you to put a 2-inch strip of the cream on your cloth, and I spread it around just a little bit so I could get an even usage. And then I wrapped it around my fingers. And as you can see, and I'm embarrassed to show the world this, my iron was built up with all sorts of different kinds of adhesives that we use. And I took my cloth, I wiped it up and down this side of my iron, and as you can see, it took everything off. I still have this side to do when I go home, but I left it just so you could see just how well this works. So that's our iron cleaner, and I think between my scissors and my iron cleaner, I've got some real hits. So
lots of new fun things for our sewing rooms.
Old dogs can learn new tricks.
Yes, exactly. Okay, we are finished.
So that concludes our April Sew Fun, and we have a couple of people that were watching us. That's nice to know, and prizes for those folks. So Anne will do this one, and I've got one.
So If your name is called, please text me or email me at Andrea at qualitysewing.com. That makes sense. Andrea at qualitysewing.com. Just shoot me a message with your name, your phone number, and which store, if you're local, which store we can send it to. If you're not local, give us an address and we'll send it to you. Okay?
Okay.
Take it away.
Okay. There is a thread kit here from Finesse with thread, and it goes to Quinna D. Renner. Quinna D. Renner. So if you will email Andrea at qualitysewing.com, we will get this out to you.
And our next lucky winner is Luella Novell, and she is going to receive the magnetic pin dish. And these are great because when your pins scatter, you can just turn them over and run it across your table or the floor, pick up those pins. There's a few little pins in here. They're the flat heads. This is going to be a great addition to your sewing room. So again, send your name to Andrea at qualitysewing.com and we will get these gifts out to you. And thank you so much for watching us today.
And being our guinea pigs, because this is our first time taping in the new studio. It's wonderful. Thank you.